Hi, so today we are going to discuss the chapter Chemistry in Everyday Life. Name is clear, we are going to deal the chemical substances that we use in each and everyday life. As per NEET examination, which are the things important? Very interesting chapter, but the main important things are medicines, from which the questions can come, soap, and obviously the artificial sweeteners. These three are the major three blocks from which the questions can come from this chapter. So let's start. Starting with the drugs. भैया देखो, ड्रग्स आर लो मॉलिकुलर मास मॉलिक्यूल्स अराउंड 100 to 500 AMU is the mass. They interact with the macromolecules. So what are macromolecules? Macromolecules are biomolecules. Like for example, here are the examples given: carbohydrate, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. These are the biomolecules with which the drug will interact. So drug interacts with these biomolecules to produce a biological response. That means something will happen to the body when the drug interact with these molecules. Now, if that response which the drug is generating, it is therapeutic in nature, for example, it can be used for treatment of some disease, then that drug will be called a medicine. So what is a medicine? A medicine is a drug whose interaction with the macromolecule is generating a biological response which is therapeutic in nature. Going ahead, medicine, they can be categorized like which three uses are there of medicine: diagnosis of a disease, identification, diagnosis; prevention of a disease, name itself is clear; and treatment of a disease. As kids, we think that medicine is for the treatment only. As per the definition, medicine is for diagnosis also, prevention also. That means yes, some vaccines can also be, the vaccines that you are using, that can also come into the category of medicine as per the definition, and treatment of the disease. Going ahead, what is chemotherapy? People think chemotherapy means only the treatment of cancer. नहीं यार, chemotherapy means using chemicals for therapeutic purposes. So chemotherapy is using chemicals for therapy. Going ahead, this carbohydrate, lipid, protein, and nucleic acid, mug it up. These four compounds you should be mugging up, these four biomolecules you should be mugging up. It can become a very good multiple choice question. Which of the following is not a biomolecule with which the drug interacts? So very nice cute question will come out. Now these are known as drug target or target molecules, where the drug gets the target, like where the drug targets. Now what are the classifications? देखो यार, classification is on the basis of pharmacological effect, drug action, chemical structure, and molecular targets. On the basis of molecular targets also. Let's understand on the basis of pharmacological effect. What is pharmacological effect? What effect the drug will cause in your body or the medicine will cause in your body, that effect. For example, you go to a doctor and let's say you are having fever. The doctor, let's say, gives you a medicine for lowering down the fever. How that fever got lowered down, you have no idea. Getting it? Which molecular target it got it attached to, you have no idea. What is the structure of the component in that medicine, you have no idea. All you know is that this medicine will lower down the fever. And such a classification, such class of medicines are known as antipyretic or antipyretic. Antipyretic medicines are those which lower down the fever. And the effect is called pharmacological effect. That means which effect was there on the body, how it happened, what was the structure, nothing. That's called pharmacological effect. Similarly, when you are having pain, some people go, sir, there is headache is there, to the doctor, headache is there, my hand is aching, muscular pains are there. They give you painkillers. Painkillers or analgesic, that is also a pharmacological effect. How the effect is happening, you have no idea, but what the effect is there, that is called pharmacological effect. So this effect is very useful for the doctors because it will give a wide range to the doctors to understand कि अच्छा ठीक है, this person has a microbial infection, so I will give him some antiseptic cream. What is the action of that antiseptic cream is none of the concern right now. So the doctor majorly need to know which specific pharmacological effect is there. Obviously in MBBS they read each and everything in detail. That's why 5.5-year course is there, plus 2 years masters is also there at least. Still, the useful thing as per the NCERT, the doctors need only pharmacological effect on a broader view. Going ahead, drug action. Drug action is action of the drug over the biochemical process, like how the medicine is acting. That is drug action. What action the medicine do in the body, what effect it causes, that is pharmacological effect. So understand, antihistamines, for example, antihistamines are those class of drug which inhibit the action of histamine. How it inhibit? No idea. That will be discussed in the molecular target, chemical structure. All these things will decide how the inhibition is happening. But any medicine which can inhibit the action of histamine, it's a molecule, I will discuss about it, in the body are called as antihistamines. Now understand here, histamine is a molecule generated in the body which causes inflammation. That means whenever there is a swelling, that swelling is mostly because of the histamine secretion. As well as when you have nasal congestion, that inside swelling also, runny nose and all that happens during cold, that is also due to histamine. So whenever they give you anti-allergent drug, most of them are antihistamine. So understand, anti-allergent means it attacks on the allergy, that is the pharmacological effect. So anti-allergent classification is pharmacological classification. What it does? It inhibits histamine. It inhibits histamine, that is drug action. So understand, drug action means what is the biochemical process. What is pharmacological effect? The effect you see of the drug on the body, that is a pharmacological effect. Chemical structure, I don't have to explain. The classification based on the structure, like this kind of structure, R groups keep on varying. Such kind of structures we keep in one single classification, that is sulfonamides. Similarly, molecular targets. Which target molecule was affected by the drug? Classification based on that is known as molecular target. Classification based on molecular target. It is very useful for the medicinal chemist. That means the people in chemistry, those who are going to develop medicine, drug development, like for example, right now vaccines are going on. Development of vaccine of coronavirus is going on. So we understand this, that the chemist there, the scientist there, they'll be working over a vaccine or a medicine which will go and bind to a specific target molecule. So they need to know what is the molecular target where they have to attack, and the drug can show the action. So understand one more important thing. Generally, because it's a chemical reaction only. The target molecules are also chemical compounds. The drug is also a chemical compound. So some reaction will go on there. So if the structure is same, generally, if the structure is same or similar, then the target is also usually similar. Some exceptions obviously will be there, because which part of the structure got changed, functional group got changed, or hydrocarbon chain got changed. These kind of things in detail you will learn in your MBBS course. But right now this much is enough for you to understand that if the structure is same, that means near about functional groups are same. So near about same molecule it will react with. That means the molecular target will also be same. So these two classifications are very interrelated to each other. If the chemical structure is same, near about the molecular target also becomes same. And this is very, very helpful for the medicinal chemist. So what is the important thing for doctors to know? Pharmacological effect. Ki bhaiya, what is the effect of this drug on the body? What effect will be visualized? And what is important for medicinal chemist? Ki bhaiya, which is the target molecule where I have to attack the drug for the better action? So bhaiya, this was about the classification part. Let us carry on. So let us talk about the enzyme mechanism. So enzyme, what are the jobs that enzyme do? So enzyme catalyzes the biochemical process that we know. It holds the substrate for a reaction. One job it does is that he will hold the substrate, and he will hold the substrate for some reagent to come and react with the substrate. So it's just like a normal movie, where one of the person is holding the substrate and the other person is beating the substrate. So the enzyme has first job of holding the substrate so that some other reagent can come and maybe reacting with them. So your first job is this. So enzyme hold the substrate. By which interactions? The interaction between the substrate and the enzyme, single multiple choice question can come. Very nice question it is. Ionic bond, hydrogen bonding, van der Waals, dipole-dipole interaction. These four kinds of interactions are there between the enzyme and the substrate. Going ahead here. Now, number two, the second use of enzyme or second function of enzyme, understand these functions are independent. Either enzyme will do this function or this function. Second function is provide functional group to attack substrate and carry out the reaction. That means either enzyme will hold the substrate for some other reagent to come and react, or enzyme himself will provide the functional group and will react with the substrate. So either enzyme can react himself with the substrate, or the enzyme can hold the substrate for the reagent to come and interact. So why was this thing taught to us, or why do we need to know the enzyme mechanism? Because drugs inhibit the enzyme. Understand the idea? So drug enzyme interaction. So how does the enzyme inhibitors, the drugs which are acting as enzyme inhibitors, how they act? So dekho yaar, simple concept is here. One is called competitive mechanism, very common in biology as well, and the other is called non-competitive mechanism. In competitive mechanism, what happens? Substrate and enzyme, they both have similar structure. This is inhibitor. Substrate and inhibitor, they both have the similar structure, and they both compete for the active site. They both compete for the active site. ठीक है भाई साहब. So if the enzyme rushes fast and reaches to the active site, so the substrate will not be able to bind here. So this is called competitive inhibition, where the enzyme substrate both have the same shape. They are both competing for binding to the active site of enzyme. This site is called active site, where the substrate is binding. Second is non-competitive. What happens in non-competitive? There is another site, this kind of site, which we can call as allosteric site. We call it allosteric site. So if there is some inhibitor, he will come to the allosteric site. So what will happen? When he comes to the allosteric site, what happens here is that the shape of the active site get changed. Shape of active site changes. ठीक है भाई? So there is a change in the shape of the active site. So what happens in the non-competitive mechanism? The inhibitor binds to the allosteric site. What is the allosteric site? Site which is not active, which is not the active site, where the substrate will not come and bind. So what happens? Inhibitor went there, he bound here. So it changes because of the chemical reaction. It changes the active site shape. तो भैया substrate will not be able to recognize this enzyme. ठीक है भाई साहब? So this mechanism is called non-competitive mechanism. तो भैया competitive, inhibitor and substrate of same structure, they compete for the active site. Non-competitive, inhibitor go and bind to some other site apart from the active site, changing the shape of the active site, so substrate cannot recognize the active site. Now very important, understand that enzyme inhibitor, when they will be binding to each other, when the enzyme binds to the inhibitor, especially in the competitive mechanism I am talking about, also in the non-competitive, both cases enzyme binds with the inhibitor. Enzyme inhibitor complex is formed. Generally, the bond between them is not a strong covalent bond. Interactions are weaker and reversible. So generally the inhibitor inhibits the enzyme for some time. But if, understand, if, it is not always true, if enzyme inhibitor bond is strong covalent bond, there is a multiple choice question in the NCERT exemplar also, in which it is given that generally the enzyme inhibitor bond is a strong covalent bond, it is given as a false statement, because generally it is not a strong covalent bond. But if it is a strong covalent bond, if in case it becomes a strong covalent bond, then the enzyme blocks permanently. Enzyme get blocked permanently. ठीक है भाई साहब, blocks नहीं, blocked. The enzyme get blocked permanently. So what happens there? After some time, the body degrades the enzyme inhibitor complex. As simple as that. See another mechanism of action of the drug. First mechanism we understood. कि भैया this inhibitor, these are the enzyme inhibitors. These are the drugs we can use for inhibiting the function, a biological process. Now another way is there. This is something known as chemical messenger. What is the role of chemical messenger? Chemical messenger go and selectively bind to some receptor proteins. These are receptors known as receptors, and they are the proteins. What the receptors are? If there is a cell membrane, they pass through the cell membrane. That means some part of the receptor is above the cell membrane, some part of the receptor is below the cell membrane and inside the cell, some outside the cell. So that's how it is looking like. So it's the cell membrane, outer surface, inner surface, and there is a receptor. So what he does, the chemical messenger comes here, binds to the receptor, some chemical reaction happens, and some small molecules go out as messages. To understand the idea, chemical messenger came, he sent the message in the molecule, in the cell. He sent the message in the cell, but the chemical messenger, he sent the message in the cell, but the chemical messenger never actually entered in the cell. So the receptor proteins make it easy for the transfer of message by the chemical messengers, but without the chemical messenger entering into the cell actually. So we understand receptors are selective, very selective for the messengers. Why? Because receptors are proteins. So the active site of this receptor site will be having different amino acid sequences, and on the basis of amino acid sequences, different chemical messengers will come and bind to the receptor site. So understand, if I have a specific amino acid sequence, I will bind with only a specific chemical messenger only. So here selectivity is very high. Second, they are proteins, we know that. Transfer of message without messenger entering in the cell also we know now. So understand, now we have to somehow block or enhance the message. What is the use of drug? We will inhibit this biological function, or we will enhance this biological function. Imagine this message is a chadda message, bad message it is not good for our body. Maybe the message is do inflammation, give pain. This kind of messages are sent to the cell. So bhaiya, this kind of message have to be blocked. For blocking that, the drugs we use are called as antagonist. What is antagonist? Antagonist blocks the message. How they block the message? They themselves go and bind to the receptor site. So their structure is like chemical messenger, but they do not release the messages like this. So what happen, antagonist will go, they will bind to the receptor site and happily they will sit there when the chemical messenger, real chemical messenger will come. है ना? By that time antagonist already has occupied the receptor site. So chemical messenger will come. They will see कि अरे यार receptor is already involved in the reaction. I can't react with him. So the message will not be transferred to the cell. And भैया चड्डा message, bad message that the cell was about to get will stop. And that is called antagonist. This is done by antagonist. Next, agonist. Imagine if the message transferred is good. For example, the message is a good feeling, like good feeling hormone have to be synthesized. Feel good hormone we can say has to be synthesized to prevent depression. But because that messenger which gives the message of generating that good enzyme or good protein or good chemical in the body, that messenger is very less. So what we do? We send drug. That drug behaves as agonist. Some drugs behave as agonist. They will go there. They will mimic means they will behave as the chemical messenger only, but artificial chemical messenger. They will come here, the drugs, they will come here, bind in the place of chemical messenger and will send the message. So understand, mimicry of the messenger is happening, pretending to be the messenger. And here this is used when there is a lack of natural messenger. When the natural messengers are less and the message is very important for the body, we need this message to be given, but the chemical messengers are less. What we do? We send another person which behaves as a chemical messenger, and that person is agonist. So understand, when the drug is acting against the chemical messenger, we call it antagonist. When it is acting like a chemical messenger, we call it agonist. So when the biological response it is generating is like the chemical messenger, agonist. When the biological response generated is opposite of the chemical messenger, that means no message is sent, it is called antagonist. Now we are going to enter into different classifications and the medicines that you have to remember. Chaliye bhai. So now let us talk about antacids. The antacids we have, previously people used to use NaSCO3, sodium hydrogen carbonate, bicarbonate, and or aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide mixture. Now it was found that these mixture were better than NaSCO3 at that time for the acidity in the stomach. So I think we know this acidity is because of the HCl secretion in the stomach. So what was the problem? Why these were better and why not NaSCO3? Because these are insoluble. So then what's the problem? Problem is this, the excess of NaSCO3, because NaSCO3 is 100% soluble, the excess of NaSCO3 will make the stomach alkaline in the medium. Basic medium will be generated, which even triggers the production of more HCl here, and which is very bad. That means little bit HCl was getting produced in the body. You had by mistake some extra dose of NaSCO3, which will make the stomach alkaline. Basic. As a result, more and more HCl will be produced by the body, just kind of Le-Chatelier principle. Then, why these are better? Because they are insoluble. So as soon as the pH becomes neutral, these people, because they are insoluble, so when HCl is there, OH minus will come out and will react with the HCl. But if HCl is not there, they will not solubilize, not making the medium above, not making the pH above 7. But again, that was a problem. That histamine, see, this star means the structure, you have to mug it up. So mug up the structure of histamine also. Histamine stimulates the secretion of pepsin and HCl in the stomach. This was known. The problem was these people, they treat the symptom and not the reason. And when we came to know that histamine is the person which is responsible for the HCl secretion in the stomach, so instead of treating HCl, kill the reason for this HCl. So understand bhaiya, the drugs which got discovered later on, they were cimetidine, or this which got synthesized later on, they were cimetidine, known as Tagamet, and ranitidine. Nowadays a lot of ranitidine, Zentek tablets you might see at your home as well. So these are the drugs which will inhibit the histamine there in the stomach, inhibit the histamine binding to the receptor or killing the histamine. So bhaiya, the antihistamine drugs for the stomach, the antacid for the stomach are cimetidine and ranitidine. Going ahead, sir, antihistamine higher. This antihistamine and this antihistamine, are they different? 100% different. So understand, as per your NEET level course, actually this is also antihistamine because they will also inhibit histamine only. But when we say antihistamine, as per the NCERT, it means anti-allergent. In several places in NCERT, in exercise also, exemplar also, it is treating anti-allergent only as the antihistamines. Okay, bhai? So these are also antihistamine. Conceptually, you are not wrong in this. But now the things which I am going to deal, understand, these will be now onwards called antihistamine. That means they will be called as antacids. And these antihistamines are the anti-allergens. So let's carry on. So understand histamine, it is a potent vasodilator. It relaxes some of the muscles or some of the tissues. And nasal congestion, I told you previously also, in the allergy due to pollen or in the common cold, the nasal congestion is also due to histamine. So histamine is doing two jobs. Same histamine, when bind to a receptor in the stomach, in receptor number A, let's say A receptor, in the stomach, it generates HCl and pepsin. Same histamine goes to the nose and bind to receptor B, it generates allergy response. That means inflammation, running nose, all these things. So understand, the same histamine bind to two different receptor sites, generating two different response. To understand, the antihistamine we are talking here, that is Dimetapp and Seldane, that is brompheniramine and terfenadine. These two drugs, that is Dimetapp and Seldane, what they do, they inhibit the function of histamine and they will not let the nasal congestion or inflammation in the tissue to happen. So these are anti-allergent. Now one question arises, sir, these are also antihistamine, these are also antihistamine. So why can't we use Dimetapp for treatment of the acidity? So that is the question, why these antihistamines which we saw here, they are not effective against the acidity in the stomach? Answer is very simple, because there were two different receptor sites. Here some receptor A I said, then pepsin and HCl will come. Same histamine at receptor B will do nasal congestion. So understand, for treating nasal congestion or anti-allergen drugs are required. Antihistamines which are anti-allergen drug, that is Seldane and Dimetapp, are required, but they will not be able to function for acidity because the receptor site is different in the stomach for generating HCl and pepsin. Going ahead, what are tranquilizers? The medicine that are used for dealing the mental diseases. Okay, depression. People think, sir, I am not able to read, get marks, I am in depression. No, yeah, you are just sad. Depression is a term that we are so much educated, but we are not. There's a lot of knowledge around us, but we are not educated. Just we see a fancy word depression and we just say that, sir, I'm depressed, I'm doing this. What is the depression? Like your body is not able to synthesize noradrenaline properly. Have you get the checkup done, something like that? Nahi. Understand, mental disease like depression is also a disease due to chemical substances, sometimes overproduction, sometimes lack of production. So understand, depression and feeling sad are two different things here. So understand, if you are educated, you are BIPC scholars, you should not be using the stupid terms anywhere that you want. A term has a specific meaning. Otherwise what happens, the gravity of the word depression goes down. So if the actual patient of depression will come, people will think, yeah, theek hai, he is also just feeling low. He will boost him up. So yes, come on, you can do it, motivation you will give, and the person will go out of depression. It is not possible. A real person suffering from depression is just like having nasal congestion. It's just like having acidity. And as there are medicines for acidity and nasal congestion, there are also medicines for depression also. Problem is that people think depression is a state of mind. No, it's a state of body. You will understand now that tranquilizers are the drugs which are neurologically active. Neurologically active means your nervous system will get affected by these. So understand, what are antidepressant? They inhibit. Okay, understand the idea here. There's an enzyme called noradrenaline. This will give you a feeling of well-being. A feeling of well-being means a feel-good factor comes. Ki, haan, theek hai, life is going good. When that noradrenaline in the body get degraded or becomes very, very low in the level, the concentration of this enzyme, this specific chemical becomes less in the body, the state of mind becomes a little bit gloomy, and that kind of state of mind is called depression. So understand what happens, there is an enzyme which will degrade this specific chemical compound. So if we can kill the enzyme, if we can inhibit that enzyme which is killing this, so it will remain in the body for longer period of time and a feeling of well-being will come. So understand what we are doing, we are killing the killer of noradrenaline in the body. As a result, that enzyme, that specific chemical compound which is the reason for your well-being, the situation of well-being, happiness, that specific compound will remain longer in the body. So bhaiya, which are those drugs? The drugs are iproniazid and phenelzine, also known as Nardil. These two are the antidepressants we use. These people, they inhibit the enzyme which degrade noradrenaline from the body. Okay, bhai sahab. Going ahead, examples of mild tranquilizer you have to keep in mind: chlordiazepoxide, meprobamate. These are the examples of mild tranquilizers. Depression and hypertension is treated by Equanil. iproniazid, meprobamate, nardil equivalent, chlordiazepam oxide. These people you have to mug up, and I'll tell you a trick to remember that. ठीक है? So what is the trick to remember? देखो, what happened? One person was there. He was suffering from, let's say, depression, actual depression. So what he did? He by mistake, he was very depressed. He was in a lot of tension. So he ate balm, like Jhandu balm, Vicks balm, है ना? He ate some balm, ate, and he was admitted in the hospital. So what happened? People asked, "Ki yaar, why did you eat this balm?" So what he said, Zid in Urdu or Farsi, it means adamant. It was not my wish, like adamant wish was not there. So what he said, iproniazid, that I did not do any zid, iproniazid, meprobamate, still meprobamate. So what is this pro? Kuch nahi yaar, just remember it's a trick only na. So iproniazid, that means I did not do any zid, iproniazid, meprobamate, still I had balm, I ate balm. So iproniazid, meprobamate. Then he said ki sir, nardil means, nar means male, dil means heart. Nardil, that means my heart, this man's heart was equally distributed between two choices, ki should I eat or should I not eat. So what he said, nardil equanil, equally distributed. Then bhaiya, doctor said ki okay, now you will leave everything. So he said okay, leave means chhod dena, chhod dena. So what he said, chhod diya oxide. So how to remember? Iproniazid, meprobamate, nardil equanil, chhod diya oxide. So iproniazid, meprobamate, nardil equanil, chhod diya oxide. So bhaiya, this is how you can remember the tranquilizers. Going ahead, barbiturates derivatives are there, veronal, amital, nambutal, luminal, seconal. They are also very easy to remember because they all have ul at the back of them. Other tranquilizers that we use are Valium and serotonin. So these names you can remember. The only thing that I feel you have to remember separately is Valium and serotonin. Otherwise, iproniazid, meprobamate, nardil equanil, chhod diya oxide, everyone will be able to remember. And ul, all of them are barbiturates derivative. It's very easy to remember all of them. But understand one very important thing here, the depression is also a kind of chemical imbalance in the body. Your body is a chemical factory, so don't treat depression like something different than fever, something different than acidity, something different than an allergy or something. Because yes, and in fact it is much worse. Why? Because these symptoms people will be able to see. When you have a fever, people will be able to feel it. When you have acidity, you'll be, a lot of burning sensation will be there. And bhaiya, yes, a little bit of feeling people will also get ki haan theek hai, is having acidity. Allergy, people will see the running nose. But this depression is a problem that if you have, you must have to get a checkup done also. In that scenario, only you'll be able to identify ki is the enzyme which is responsible for this degradation of noradrenaline is generated maybe extra or is not letting the noradrenaline or the feel-good hormone to stay there. So understand, it's a very different kind of a scenario, but people are treating it in a very different way. But we are educated folk, and this education should help us. Chaliye bhaiya, carrying on. So now let us talk about analgesics. Analgesics are also neurologically active drugs. They are painkillers. Two categories are there, non-narcotics and narcotics. Non-narcotics are non-addictive. There is no addiction of them. For example, aspirin, paracetamol. Apart from treating the pain, they also are active. Aspirin is also active. Paracetamol is also active against fever as well. So understand, aspirin inhibit prostaglandin. This prostaglandin is the responsible fellow for this inflammation and the pain. So bhaiya, aspirin inhibit prostaglandin. That's one molecule which you can remember. Now, aspirin reduces fever also, just like paracetamol as well. Prevent platelet coagulation. Also, due to the anti-blood clotting activity, it is used for the prevention of heart attack as well. So aspirin is having multiple uses. Narcotics, that is addictive, very common, day-to-day life also many a times we read this thing. Morphine, heroin, codeine, they are given in the case of extreme pain, like childbirth is there, post-operative pain is there. For them we give this narcotic kind of drugs as a painkiller. These are the analgesics which are addictive in nature. Structure-wise, try to remember the structure by this trick that there are two OH group in morphine, two OAC group in heroin. In codeine, one OH and one OAC group is there. Talking about antimicrobial, by name it is clear, inhibit or arrest the growth of the microorganisms. Antibiotics, the first drug which came into limelight was salvarsan, that is arsphenamine, And भैया आर्सफिनामिन is the drug which was active against syphilis. Very in the World War time, it was a very big problem. Syphilis was a very big problem. It was a sexually transmitted disease, and bhaiya salvarsan was very effective against it. But the problem was it was more toxic for spirochete, which is responsible for salvarsan, but it is toxic to human beings also. So what we understand here, there is a lot of side effect as well. But when the scientist got Nobel Prize for it, Elric got Nobel Prize for it. After that also he was working on the same salvarsan. He knew that salvarsan has AS double bond AS. Luckily, he came across azodine, which also we very well know has N double bond N group. So he started working upon it, and soon he discovered protonsil. This is the structure of protonsil here. So bhaiya here N double bond N replaced AS double bond AS. So bhaiya toxicity decreased. The human beings have a problem with heavy metals or heavy elements. Arsenic is a heavy element. So here toxicity was majorly due to arsenic. It got removed little bit, as well as he realized that actually this part of protonsil used to get converted into sulfanilamide, and bhaiya this sulfanilamide was the real active compound. From here we got new class of drug which we have read previously, chemical structure classification. Sulfa class of drug was there, sulfaamide class of drug. It came from here only. Going ahead, you have to remember the bactericidal. The examples are penicillin, aminoglycoside, ofloxacin. These are the three examples of bactericidal. Bactericidal kills bacteria. Bacteriostatic, what it will do? It will inhibit the growth. Inhibit growth of the bacteria. So there are two classes of antibiotics we have, bactericidal and bacteriostatic. Static inhibits the growth, stops the growth. Bactericidal kills the bacteria. Examples, bacteriostatic examples are erythromycin, tetracycline, chloramphenicol, very common examples you deal in biology as well. Now there is something known as narrow spectrum and broad spectrum antibiotic. What is broad spectrum? There are gram positive, gram negative bacteria. So the antibiotics which can work against gram positive as well as gram negative bacteria are called broad spectrum, which can work against either gram positive or gram negative bacteria, either one of them, that is narrow spectrum. Example, penicillin G. One synthetic modifications we made of penicillin G, we got ampicillin, amoxicillin, and they are broad spectrum antibiotics. Another antibiotic is their limited spectrum, which does not act against the whole gram positive bacteria or the whole gram negative bacteria, but against a specific strain of the bacteria. So here that is limited spectrum. Now, the other examples of broad spectrums are chloramphenicol, that is broad spectrum bacteriostatic. Sometimes they can ask you this way also, which of the following is the broad spectrum bacteriostatic? Understood the idea? So for example, if they give ampicillin is a broad spectrum bacteriostatic, true or false? It is broad spectrum but not bacteriostatic. It's a derivative of penicillin, so it is bactericidal. Going ahead, chloramphenicol, vancomycin, ofloxacin, these are the example of the broad spectrum antibiotics. Then we have dicydezerine. Dicydezerine is toxic towards certain strains of cancer. So we can say not mentioned in the NCERT, but we can put this in case it is necessary to put something in the limited spectrum. We can put him in the limited spectrum if there is no other choice available in the options. Going ahead, chloramphenicol, very important. Chloramphenicol can be easily absorbed by the gastrointestinal tract. That means from our digestive system, it can be easily absorbed. So it can be orally taken. You don't have to give it in the directly veins and arteries and directly in the blood. The supply has not to be given. Chloramphenicol can be eaten orally because it can be absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. That means from the stomach or maybe intestine somewhere. It can be easily absorbed. Used for typhoid, dysentery, fever, urine infection, meningitis and pneumonia. So wide spectrum it has of action against different kinds of bacteria. So this is about the antibiotics here. Going ahead. So the next thing in the antimicrobials are antiseptic or disinfectants and disinfectants. Antiseptics, they act on the live tissue. If there is a cut or burning, then we use antiseptic there. Disinfectant is like floor cleaners. On the inanimate object, non-living objects, we use them. Example of antiseptic, furacin and cefpromycin. Very commonly used examples these are furacin, cefpromycin. In your house also you might be seeing these antiseptic tubes are there, usually white in color. Now, disinfectant, Dettol, very common, we use day-to-day life also. Dettol is very important for NEET exam, so make sure that the structures also you have to read from here. So, structure of chloroxylenol and terpineol, which are the components of Dettol, as well as this name of the component should be by-hearted today itself. Bithionol, structure is also very important. Make sure that you remember it from the NCERT as well. It is added to the soap to give the antiseptic kind of property to the soap. ठीक है भाई साहब. So this biothionyl you can put separately here. It is used to the added to the soap for giving some antiseptic property. Now 2 to 3% iodine in alcohol water mixture is called as tincture of iodine. It is antiseptic. Iodoform is also antiseptic. Dilute aqueous boric acid, you have read this in the boron family as well, is used as an antiseptic for eyes, mild antiseptic for eyes. 0.2%, very nice interesting thing is there कि भैया same substance can be disinfectant and antiseptic both. How sir? देखो भैया, in the high concentration disinfectant, in the low concentration antiseptic. Like 0.2% phenol is antiseptic, can be used on the skin, but 1% phenol is disinfectant. You might have heard na phenyl you use for cleaning the household floors and all. That phenyl is nothing but phenol, 1% or more than 1% concentration of phenol. Going ahead, 0.2 to 0.4 ppm chlorine in water in aqueous solution as well as SO2 in a very low concentration. These both are also disinfectants. So talking about the anti-fertility drugs now. Anti-fertility drugs, they are like birth control pills. So progesterone, it suppresses the ovulation. The ovum is not released if the progesterone is maintained in the body. So norethindrone is one of the drug which is the synthetic progesterone derivative. It is added along with noestrol, that is thionyl estradiol. And bhaiya, it is also a derivative of estrogen. So we use synthetic derivatives of progesterone and estrogen and we send that in the body so that the ovulation can be suppressed for some time. As a result, birth control pills they can be acting on. So bhaiya, these two are the examples of the anti-fertility drugs. Talking about now the sweetening agents. The natural sweetener that we have, that is cane sugar or sucrose, it gives a lot of calories to the body. So we search for us artificial sweeteners which can give sweetness. Taste can come, but it does not give calories to the body. So bhaiya, such artificial sweetener, the first one discovered was saccharin. In the 1800s it was discovered and still it is being used. Saccharin is 550 times sweeter than the cane sugar. So very less amount. You might have seen sugar-free when we add. Sugar-free actually contains sucralose. Sugar-free tablets they come. We just add one tablet. Maybe if you have seen this, they just add one tablet and sweetness comes sufficiently there. Because they are much more sweeter than the normal cane sugar that you use. Aspartame is unstable at cooking temperature. So used in the cold drink, 100 times sweeter than the cane sugar. Sucralose is very good. Why have it done good here? Because aspartame is unstable at cooking temperature. Elitame is so much sweet, his sweetness cannot be controlled. Sucralose on the other hand is very easily controlled as well. It's a trichloro derivative of sucrose. Does not give any calories to the body. That's why very commonly used artificial sweeteners is sucralose here. So bhaiya, sucralose is 600 times sweet as compared to cane sugar or normal home sugar that we use. Food preservatives. So bhaiya, the name is clear, they preserve the food for the longer period of time. Remember the example, salts, sugar, oil, very commonly at your home also for making pickles and all you use them, because that mango which will get degraded within 10 to 15 days will remain for years and years due to salt, sugar and oil that you add there. So they are natural food preservative. Apart from that, sodium benzoate, salt of sorbic acid, salt of propanoic acid, these are the food preservative. Very good multiple choice question can come. Then what are antioxidants? देखो यार, rancidity is something which we learnt. Rancidity is something that we learnt in class 9th, 10th. So the food items get oxidized due to the atmospheric oxygen, giving a very chadda taste and chadda smell. So to prevent that, there are some people who sacrifice themselves. And those chemicals who get oxidized so that the food can be prevented. So when the oxygen comes, it oxidizes the antioxidant first preferably. So the food will be prevented there. Such substances are called antioxidants. Example, remember Bha Bhat. What is Bha Bhat? देखो भैया, BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole and butylated hydroxytoluene, both of them are antioxidant, and out of that BHA is used to increase the shelf life of butter. Butter is used, you might be seeing that butters like Amul butter and all, they can be stored for several days. Why? Because they have some antioxidants added there, which is BHA. Apart from that, citric acid, sulfite, SO2. Remember this example here? CO2 and SO2. One question came many years back in the NEET exam that CO2, SO2, they differ. They are common in many property. They differ in. So they differ in this property that SO2 is antioxidant, but CO2 is not antioxidant there. So why? Simple, because SO2 can be oxidized. So he can sacrifice himself to save the food particles. CO2 is already in the highest oxidation state. He cannot be further oxidized. So it is not used as antioxidant. Anyway, logic does not matter. Just mug them up here. Yeah. Everything, if you start searching logic in everything, you'll be wasting up a lot of time in chapters like this, where it is more of a memory based rather than logic based at this point of time. So bhaiya, these people are used as antioxidants. So bhaiya, this is all. Now talking about the soap in the next part and detergent we have to do, and the chapter will be over. So now let us talk about soaps and detergents. So we have the saponification reaction here. So in this saponification reaction, we get C17H35COONA, that is the soap, it remains in the colloidal form. To precipitate it, we add NaCl. So due to common ion effect, C17H35COONA, which is soap, which will get precipitated. Byproduct glycerol, very useful it is, and it is recovered by distillation. In this chapter, it is given fractional distillation. In organic chemistry, you might have read something else as well. I don't want to put it here and make you confused. As per the Chemistry Everyday Life NCERT, fractional distillation is the method used. Anyway, going ahead. C17H35COONA, that is potassium based soaps, are softer to the skin than sodium based soaps. Going ahead, what are the types of soaps? Toilet soap. People think toilet soap means for washing the toilet hands. Obviously not here. Toilet soap means it is the cleaning soap. The most top grade soaps are the toilet soaps. We use the best top grade material there. Also extra alkali is removed so that it is soft to the skin. So it is the cleaning soap for the skin purposes. Floating soap, they float over water. For making such soap, what we do, while making it, while saponification, we beat the air bubble. Before solidifying it, we beat the air bubble, means we give a lot of beating, like kind of stirring. Proper stirring is given so that proper bubbles are formed there. That bubble will give lower density to these soaps, and as a result, they will float over water. Transparent soap, instead of using water and aqueous solution here, what we use? We use ethanol as a solvent. Ethanol is easily evaporated as compared to water. So excess ethanol is easily evaporated, which will give the transparency to the soap. Next, medicated soap, very easy. Bithionol, we have read in the previous example, in the previous topic. It is used in the soap to give the antiseptic property. Shaving soaps. For the shaving soaps, it's very easy to understand that we need the shaving soaps to be not rapidly drying. To prevent rapid drying, we use glycerol here, which we obtained from here. That glycerol is used here to prevent the rapid drying. Also, we use rosin. Rosin is a substance which gives more lathering to the soap. So more lather, you might be seeing this thing that shaving cream generate more lather than the normal soap and does not dry so rapidly. That is because of glycerol, prevent the rapid drying, and rosin, which gives the extra lather. Laundry soap contains the filler. Mug up the fillers given in the NCERT, sodium rosinate. I can tell you orally also, but it's better you read and underline and mug it up. So yeah, sodium rosinate are there, borax are there, carbonates are there, silicates are there. So these are all there in the laundry soap, added as filler to make more lathering also. Like rosinate here also I can use for to generate more lathering. Plus for getting the scrub property, as well. Now soap chips or soap granules, how they are made? We take a cool cylinder and we melt the soap over this and we scrape the soap off. So we get soap chips. Soap granules, miniature soap bubbles are dried and we get the soap granules. So how we get soap granules? By drying the miniature soap bubble. How we get the soap chips? By peeling off. What peeling off? Peeling off the liquid soap or molten soap which got solidified over a cool cylinder. Just like creamstone ice creams you might have seen, they also do the same kind of peeling off in that way. Going ahead, why soap does not form lather with hard water? Hard water contains calcium, magnesium 2+ ion. This we discussed in hydrogen chapter as well. It reacts with the soap to form the precipitate known as scum. Read the problems due to scum given in the NCERT. Which problems? The glow of the hair goes. One problem. Second problem, the dye is not absorbed evenly by the cloth which is washed by the hard water because of the scum. Because of the scum deposition, the color is not evenly distributed throughout the fabric. So it is not good. So make sure that you remember the problems due to the scum as well. From there also a question can come. Detergent, they are mostly anionic, cationic and non-ionic detergent. The main difference is that these people do not have a COO minus group. As a result, this kind of precipitation does not occur. That means detergent can form lather with hard water also. Three types: anionic, example, sodium lauryl sulfate. Formula is clear cut to us. How many carbons are there? This kind of question they can ask you. Functional group for the anionic detergent is going to be SO3 minus only here. So it's very simple. Here also, this sodium dodecyl benzene sulfate. Sometimes this SDS, sodium dodecyl sulfate, you will be using in biology as well. Maybe if not in the junior senior inter level, then at least in the MBBS level for the extraction of proteins as well. For breaking the cell wall also we use SDS. So there is a method, as far as I remember, is called SDS page that people learn there. SDS, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. Anyway, all those things we will learn there also. So this is very important. Sodium dodecyl benzene sulfate, as well as sodium lauryl sulfate also. Very commonly used. In fact, in the toothpaste also this kind of detergents are used. Yes, there are detergent in the toothpaste as well. So don't be surprised. Cationic detergent used in your conditioners, and conditioners you might be knowing very well. Hair conditioners, they are very expensive. Why? Because these detergents are germicidal also in the property, cationic. These are cationic, means there is a cation of tertiary ammonium salt, example cetyl trimethyl. This is called cetyl group, cetyl trimethyl ammonium bromide. So chloride bromide salt of ammonium, long chain ammonium ion. So bhaiya, understand here it has a germicidal property and it is obviously expensive. That's why conditioners also that you get, they are also expensive as compared to shampoos. Non-ionic, they are used for liquid dishwashing. By name it is clear, non-ionic, there is no cationic and ionic part. From where it is made, from which reactant it is made, reactants are very important. Stearic acid. Stearic acid is CH3, CH2 whole 16 COOH. Also, polyethylene glycol, that is glycol only but polyethylene, like OH, CH2, CH2O whole N, then CH2, CH2OH. So it's polyethylene glycol. They react together to form non-ionic detergent. Structure you can make simply by doing the esterification here. A long chain you will get CH3, CH2 whole 16, C double bond O, O, CH2, CH2 O whole N, CH2, CH2OH. Don't make a polymer there. It's just a reaction and single compound will be formed. And that is used in the liquid dishwashing. One very important thing is there in this topic. And that important thing is ki bhaiya, the problem with the detergent is that, maybe you have read in the environmental chemistry also, they are not easily biodegradable. So understand, unbranched hydrocarbon chains are easily biodegraded by the bacteria. So understand, whenever the detergents are made, if they give you 2-3 detergent, for example, this one they give you, and some detergent they give with some side chains like CH2, CH2, CH3, after 2-3 carbon like CH3, CH, CH2, CH3, then CH2, CH2, then CH, CH2, CH3, then CH2, CH2, CH, CH2, CH3. So many chains, many side chains are there. So more branching, less biodegradable. So bhaiya, unbranched hydrocarbon chains are easily biodegraded. So this is about the chemistry in everyday life topic. Very important chapter, so make sure that each and every line of NCERT you should read again. In this revision video, I have not talked about in depth about the structures. So make sure this thing that when you are reading the NCERT, see the structures of all the medicines as well given in the NCERT. So do I need to remember the whole structure? It will be very tough. If you can remember the functional group, you will be able to solve the question in the examination, because options will come in the exam. So be smart. You should not be able to replicate the whole structure because your board exams are over already. Even if they are in the board exam course also, very rarely they ask the question of the structures. But yes, for Dettol constituent like terpineol structure can be very important. Chloroxylenol structure can be very important. So these become very important. But apart from that, remaining structures, you can just remember the functional groups and you can identify from the given options in the exam. So bhaiya, this is all about the chemistry in everyday life topic from my side. A quick revision, but again, make sure to read the NCERT and properly remember this topic. At least one question in every exam we are expecting it would come in all the national level examination. That's all from my side. This is Saurabh Pant signing off. Thank you so much. All the very best.